Hello and welcome to CMG's webinar on brand new Results 2016 application. My name is Jason Close and I'm the Canadian Regional Manager at CMG. I'm very pleased to introduce today's presenter, Tirth Thacker, currently a reservoir simulation engineer in our consulting, support, and training group. Tirth first joined Computer Modeling Group in 2013 as a reservoir simulation intern. During his internship, he provided outstanding technical support to worldwide CMG customers. Upon graduating in 2015, he accepted a permanent position as reservoir simulation engineer in the CST department. Over the past 2.5 years, he has gained solid industry experience specializing in thermal recovery processes, advanced wellbore modeling, and unconventional reservoir simulation. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree in chemical engineering with a minor in petroleum engineering from the University of Calgary. At the end of the presentation, there will be an opportunity for you to ask him questions. Please submit them throughout the webinar using the chat window on your screen, and we'll do our best to answer as many as possible. The recording of this presentation will be posted to our website within the next 24 hours, and you will each receive a link to download and view the webinar and presentation slides. I think that covers the housekeeping items, so I'll turn it over to Tirth.
Thanks, Jason. So hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar for our new Results software. So what's new in Results? Well, the only thing that's changed is everything. From the interface, to the performance, to the usability, everything has been improved to enhance the user experience inside of the Results software. Even the Results file format has been changed from the old IRF, MRF files to a new SR3 file format. And the goal of all these changes is to just allow users to spend more time on analysis of results and less time waiting for files to open, searching for tools, or even creating plots. So in this webinar, I hope to give you guys a great idea of how powerful this software is and show you why we're all so excited about it. So this is the agenda for today's webinar. First, I'll go through the new SR3 format benefits and the corresponding performance improvement. Then, I'll go through an extensive demo to showcase the new Results interface and the various functionality in the Results software. I'll also touch briefly on the SR2 and SR3 Restart workflow before summarizing everything at the end. Alright, so previously, when we ran our simulation models, the IRF and MRF results files were created. You could then drag your IRF file onto a results software. This would read the MRF file to display your results. With the new 2016 version of the software, in addition to the IRF and MRF files, a new file with the .sr3 extension is also created, and this is the new results file. You can then drag and drop this file onto the new Results software to visualize all your results. Again, to reiterate, by default, all 2016 versions of the simulators will create both forms of the results file every time you run a simulation model. So you'll have the option of either working with the old Results Graph and Results 3D software or the new Results software. Also, all output to the IRF-MRF file is supported with the new SR3 file system. So any output that you had specified in the I/O control section will actually be sent to both files. So what's the benefit of using this new SR3 format? Well, first of all, you're going to have equal or faster writing speeds compared to the IRF-MRF file. So especially with the larger files, if you're only outputting an SR3 file, it's actually going to run a little bit faster. The file size is also 50 to 60% smaller than the MRF size. So this has a lot of inherent benefits. First of all, it's going to take up less room on your disk, it's going to run faster, and it's also going to be faster to open up because the file size is smaller. Another benefit of this format is that it allows us to combine the plots and 3D viewer all in one place, so users can easily analyze their 2D plots and 3D reservoir models in one location instead of having to worry about opening two different softwares. And probably, in my opinion, the biggest improvement is the faster reading of data. Even if you have a very large results file, like 30 or 40 gigabytes, it can actually be opened up inside Results within just a few seconds. And once the file is open, creating plots and viewing the model in 3D is extremely fast and robust as well, so users can focus solely on analyzing results instead of being frustrated by long load times. One other thing to mention is that this quick reading of data also applies to users working over a network folder. So really, there are no limitations for the increased efficiency that can be seen with this new software. And when I go through the demo, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about because I'll do a demonstration to showcase the speed of the software. So I touched on the performance improvement in the previous slide, but here I want to actually give you an idea of the type of improvement that can be expected. So at the bottom of the slide, you can see the 2015 results graph and results 3D loading time for quite a large model. So the model itself has 4.5 million blocks, 2.3 million of them are active, over 1,400 wells, and it's a 42-year simulation. So it's quite a large model, and it's been run for a decent amount of time. And first of all, the MRF file size is about 50 gigabytes, whereas the SR3 file size is 25 gigabytes. So already, there's a 50% reduction in just the size of the file. And because of this, not only will the results file take up less room on your computer, but the model will open up and actually run faster as well. So this model took about 1 minute to open up with results graph and 4 minutes to open up in results 3D. So in total, you would be spending 5 minutes just waiting for the files to open up with the new results software, which is not very productive. So what I've actually done is I've pre-run this data set with the 2016 simulator, and I'll open up the results file with the new software to show you the speed up that can actually be achieved. So to do this, I'll actually move back to my launcher. So as you can see here, I've pre-run this case, and this .sr3 file has actually been created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this file and drop it onto the new results software. And as you can see, it opens up just within a few seconds. Previously, this function took about a minute to do, and now results is actually load up the file almost instantaneously. So with this software, users can easily transition into their analysis after running the simulation model instead of wasting time waiting for files to open up. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the new results actually combines the plot and 3D viewer all into one software. So now if I wanted to visualize the 3D model, I can easily do so by moving to the 3D viewer section here and clicking on my file. And keep in mind that this function took 4 minutes to perform with the previous results. But now I'm able to do it just in a few seconds. And you can see it's quite a large model. It has over 1,400 wells, and we're able to visualize everything very quickly. So by the time the old results display the 3D view, you could have already done your analysis with the new results and be working on your next simulation case. So due to this, the productivity of every user will actually be enhanced when using this software. And of course, the interface has also changed, and I'm not going to get into that right now. I'll talk more about that when I actually do my live demo. So with that, I'll move back into my presentation. So in addition to those speedups, the first plot creation time and the repeat plot for producers, the times actually decreased from 10 to 15 seconds to just 2 or 3 seconds. And these are just a few examples of functions that have been sped up inside of the new results. This type of improvement can actually be noticed everywhere in the new results because we have improved even the smallest little things to ensure that this software is as robust as possible. And again, when I go through the demo, you'll definitely be able to see that. All right, so now I'm actually going to move into my live demo to show you guys the actual interface and the different functions that are available inside of the results software. So again, go back to my launcher. So for my demo, I've already pre-run the files. So there's two cases. One's a steam injection case, and the other one is a water injection case. So both files have the identical reservoirs, identical reservoir properties. Even the well names are identical. The only difference between the two files is one is a steam injection case, and the other one is a water injection case. So if I had run two prediction cases, and if I was doing my analysis, I'll go through the workflow of doing the analysis with the new results software. So here you can see these SR3 files have already been created. So I'm going to take the steam injection SR3 file and drag it and drop it onto results. And again, instantaneously, my file is actually loaded up. If I want to import my water injection case, all I have to do is click on Add Files, select my water injection.sr3 file, and then click Open. And now both my steam injection case and my water injection case are opened up inside of results. And the first thing I'm actually going to do is set an alias for these files. So to do this, I'll actually click on the file, right-click, and click Set Alias. So I'll name the first one Steam Inch. And then I'll do the same for the second file as well. So I'll right-click on it, click Set Alias, and name it WaterIng. So setting an alias, this is a new feature, and it just helps you keep things organized inside of results. So if you're like me and you like having really long names for your file, things can get a little bit confusing when you're inside of results because you're unsure of what each file is actually modeling, what was changed in each file. So with this alias option, you can set the name of the file to be exactly what the file is modeling. And the great thing is, as soon as I set an alias, you'll see here in the 3D Viewer section, the names of the files have actually been updated. So for all intents and purposes, my first file is going to be known as the steam injection case, and the second file will be known as the water injection case. Another new feature of results is it actually gives me some basic file details on the side. So when I click on my water injection case, it gives me some basic file details like the number of grid blocks, the number of wells, the number of time steps, time series, or even spatial properties. So that basic information is readily provided to you. And if I switch to my steam injection case, it gives me the basic information for that specific case. Again, this is a new feature, and it's just done to enhance the functionality inside of the results software. And of course, you can see that this interface has been completely redesigned in the new results. So before I continue with the demo, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the new interface. So first of all, you have your project navigation section here on the left-hand side. So here you have your input section, your plot section, your 3D viewer section, and a new dashboard section. So in your input section, this is where you import different SR3 and FHF files. So you can easily import those files in the data sources section. You can define different user-defined paths as well. So if you want to specify different paths that you wanted to plot your property between, you can easily do so as well. If you wanted to create new formulas, you can just define them in this tab here. And then you also have your plots and 3D viewer tab. So both of these actually make up the analysis section. So plots is like our results graph software. So any type of plotting you'd like to do, property versus time, property versus distance, or even if you wanted to plot a formula, all of that can easily be done in the plot section. Then you have your 3D viewer. So 3D viewer is like the results 3D software. So any analysis you'd like to do in results 3D or in the 3D viewer, you can see the property change with time in your simulation model. You can do all of that work in the 3D viewer section. And then lastly, we have a new dashboard section. So what dashboards actually do, and again, it's a brand new feature. And the reason we were actually able to implement dashboards is now we're actually combining plots and 3D viewer all into one software. So in dashboards, I can actually visualize my plots and my 3D model all on the same page. So for example, let's say I wanted to see my oil recovery factor and my 3D model all on the same page. So I can actually do that with dashboards. And then I can actually animate my 3D model. And when it's actually animating the reservoir, I can see how the changes in my reservoir are actually affecting my oil recovery factor because both things are open on the same page. So dashboards really makes the whole analysis process much easier. And later on in the demo, I'll go through it in more detail to actually show you how it works. And it's a very, very useful tool. Here at the top, you can see now we have a ribbon format. So the ribbon actually has all the tools that the user is most likely to need. So previously, all the tools were hidden. So for example, if I wanted to export my well summary to Excel, I would have to go File, Export to Excel, or Tools, Export to Excel. If I wanted to change the units, I would have to go to a completely different window to actually change it. But here, all I have to do is click on the icon in the ribbon, and then I have access to the tool. So no longer do you have to go searching for different tools and features. All of them are easily presented right in front of you in the ribbon. And what you'll also see is here we have the periodic rereading option. And the reason I mention it is because we've gone through and completely redone and reworked this option. So previously, this option wasn't as robust. If you were working with large files, you may have seen some sort of lag that would have been associated with periodic rereading. But we've really gone through and updated this feature to make sure that all the updating actually happens in the background So if you have your simulation model running while your results file is open, you can actually enable the periodic rereading, and the results would be updated on the fly. You would be able to see your live results, and you wouldn't have any sort of lag or anything like that to reduce your productivity inside of the results software. So I highly recommend for you guys to actually test out this option because it's been improved quite significantly. And going back to the ribbons, another great feature about them is the tools are actually going to be updated based on the section I'm in. So right now I'm in my input section, but if I go into the plot section, I'll have access to all my 2D plotting tools. So if I wanted to change my curve properties, if I wanted to change my axes properties, all the tools will actually be updated in the ribbon. If I go into my 3D viewer section, then I'll have access to my 3D tools. So I can actually, for example, I can add my legend in, I can turn my grid on or off, I'll have access to all those tools. So results is actually smart enough to recognize what section I'm in, and then based on the section I'm in, it'll give me access to the tools I'm most likely to need in that specific section. So no longer do you have to go between different sections to find different tools. Everything is readily available in the ribbon. And the last thing I'll talk about before moving on with my demo is the new templates feature. And the templates feature can be found in the data sources section. Here at the bottom, you'll see that there's a template section. So what these templates are if you have commonly created plots that you're creating every single time you open up a results file, you can actually save that plot as a template. And then every subsequent results file you open up, that plot will automatically be created. So let me give you an example. Let's say my well bottom hole pressure plot is very important to my analysis. I can actually save it as a template, and then every time I open up a new results file, and it doesn't have to be the same file, it can be a completely different file. Every time I open up a new results file, the well bottom hole pressure plot will automatically be created. And the plot will be there just waiting for me, and I can go straight into my analysis. So you can just imagine the usefulness of this feature. You can actually save all your plots as templates, and then once you open up your results file, all those plots will be there waiting for you. So you can just easily transition into your analysis, and you can spend little to no time actually creating new plots or adding new curves. So the templates is a new feature, and it's extremely useful. So later on in the demo, I'll actually show you how to create these templates, and I'll go through the process of how they actually work. And what you'll see is by default, every time you open up a new results file, this default template is always created. And this template is called template.tpl. So what this template will do is every time you open up results, the cumulative water oil gas production and the cumulative water oil gas rate plots will automatically be created. And it won't just be for one well, it'll actually create a repeat plot for every single well. So I can see this in my plot section. Here you see there's a water oil gas cumulative plot and a water oil gas rate plot. And I did no work to actually add that plot in. As soon as I open up that file, that plot was there waiting for me. And in the plot section, I'm actually going to expand both plots by clicking the arrow beside them. And what you'll see is now I have that plot ready for me for every single well. So now if you think about it, in the same time that results actually opened up this file, which was just a few seconds, and again, keep in mind if the file is 25 gigabytes, results automatically created these two repeat plots for me. So as soon as the file is open, I don't have to spend any time creating the cumulative production or the cumulative rate plots because they've already been added in for me. And actually, if I click on the well 4 for rates, I can see the rates for my well 4 for both my steam injection and my water injection case. So results has automatically put all my information onto the plot, and I can easily transition now into my analysis. So now that I'm in my plot section, you'll see the tools in the ribbon have actually been updated. So now I have access to all my 2D tools. So if I wanted to show or hide my legend, I can just click on this option in the ribbon. If I wanted to show or hide specific curves, again, I can click this option in the ribbon. So I have access to all sorts of tools in the ribbon. And some of these tools have actually been grayed out. So here you can see the curve editing tools have been grayed out. So if I wanted access to them, I actually have to pick a curve that I'd like to edit. So for example, let's say this is the curve that I was most interested in, and I wanted to actually edit it. All I have to do is just click on it, and then the tools are ungrayed out in the ribbon. So then I can move back up to the ribbon and do things like change the color of the line, change the size of the line, and I can do that all in the ribbon instead of worrying about having to go to a separate window to edit my curve properties, which was the case before. And the great thing is because this is a repeat plot, if I change the curve for one of the wells, all the wells will get this exact same change. So now I'm in my well 4 in my project navigator. I'll click on well 7. And here you can see the same curve has been updated and the color and the thickness of the line has automatically been changed. So in this new results, everything is connected. If I wanted to instead edit my axes properties, all I have to do is click on the axis, and then the tools in the ribbon are ungrayed out. So then I can do things like change my scale type to a log scale or a linear scale. I can swap my axes. I can change the numeric spacing, the tick mark angle, and if I wanted, I can actually edit the range of data that I'm viewing. So right now I can see there's a minimum and maximum value, but if I wanted to only visualize my data for a certain range of gas rate, I can actually set a new minimum and maximum value for the rate. So all these options are easily available in the ribbon instead of having to go through different sections to actually get access to the tools. And one other thing I should mention is instead of using the ribbon, if you wanted to edit your curve properties, you can instead right-click on your curve as well, and then you have access to the same tools there as well. So if you don't want to use the ribbon, you can just pick a curve, right-click on it, and then you have full ability to actually change the color of the well, change the line color, the line style, the marker style. Everything can easily be done by just right-clicking on the curve as well. And actually, I have an FHF file that contains my historical oil rate for all the wells. So I'm now going to go ahead and actually import that in. So first of all, I'm just going to scroll up in my project navigator section and then select my data sources option. So this is where I actually imported my SR3 files. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my FHF file as well. So to do this, I'm going to click on the Add Files option and select my history FHF file. And then I'll click Open. So what you'll see is the icon for the FHF file is different than the icon for the SR3 file. So this is a great way to keep things organized. If I had a lot of different files open, I can easily see which is my SR3 case and which is my FHF case. And another great thing about results is, as I mentioned previously, this FHF file contains my historical oil rate for all my producer wells. So because my simulation oil rate has already been plotted by results, results will automatically go ahead and add my historical oil rate as well. So let me just show you what I mean. So I'm going to scroll down in Project Navigation and select, for example, well 4. And here you can see that the green dots, which is my historical information for oil rate, has already been added in. And this is indicated at the bottom in the legend. So the user doesn't even have to specify for this new curve to be added, because results will automatically go ahead and add it for you. Now, if this FHF file contained my gas rate, gas historical rate, and my water historical rate, results would have also automatically created those curves for me. So this is just another way we're optimizing the user experience instead of results. Users can spend as less time as possible adding curves or creating new plots, because as soon as you open up a file, everything is automatically added in. And actually, if I scroll up all the way to the top and I click on data sources again, let's say instead of an FHF file, I brought in a new SR3 file. So I'll go back to my Add Files, and I'm going to select this SR3 file that has nothing to do with any of the analysis I'm doing. It's a completely different file. And when I click Open, again, it brings it in very quickly. But when I click Open, all the template plots are automatically created for this new SR3 file. So if I scroll down in Project Navigation, you can see my cumulative water, oil, gas production and my cumulative water, oil, gas rate plots are automatically added in for every single well. So the user doesn't even have to create new plots for new files being brought in, because results will automatically go ahead and create all the template plots for you. So if you had all your templates set up correctly, and you had like 10 different templates, as soon as you open up a new file, all your template plots, so 10 different plots, would be created, and you could easily transition into your analysis. You don't have to waste any time creating new plots, adding new curves, or even waiting that long for a new file to actually open up. So with that, I'm actually going to close these new plots that got created. I don't have any purpose for them, so I'll just delete them by right-clicking on them and clicking Delete Plot. And I'll move up again to the Data Sources section, and I'm going to right-click on the SR3 file and remove it because I have no use for this file in any analysis that I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is actually collapse both these sections by clicking on them, clicking on the arrow. And I'm done my analysis for my cumulative production and my rates. And let's say now I want to create a brand new curve. So I can create a brand new plot or a curve in the plot section by clicking on this time series option. So what you'll see is our workflow for creating a new plot has been completely redesigned. So now there's a simple left to right workflow you can follow when you're adding a new plot or a new curve. And another great thing we've added in is there's data filtering in every single section. So for example, if I wanted to filter to a specific well, I could just click on the search option and then start typing in the well name, and it'll filter directly to that. Similarly, if I wanted to filter to a parameter, I can click on the option here and start typing it in, and it'll directly filter to that parameter. So it's a very useful option. Before, this was one of the biggest challenges with results, is you couldn't directly filter to a specific thing. But now, even if you had 100 wells or 1,000 wells, you could easily filter it to exactly the well that you're looking for. So I'm going to remove this. And now I'm going to go ahead and create a new curve for my oil rate and well bottom hole pressure. So to do this, I'll follow the simple left to right workflow. First, I'll select my well's data type. Then I'll select my steam injection and the water injection case. Then for my data, I'm going to select well 1. And then for my parameter, I'm going to select oil rate SC. I'll scroll down, and I'll also select well bottom hole pressure. So I've selected 2 parameters, and then I'll select add to new plot. So as soon as I do that, my plot is created. And now I can do my analysis of my oil rate and well bottom hole pressure for my steam injection and water injection case. And as you can see, by default, it names the plot repeat group. So if I wanted to edit the name just to keep things organized inside of results, I can easily do so by just clicking on the name on the side in the project navigation and changing it to oil rate and BHP. And once I change the name here, it actually updates the name on top of the plot as well. So this way I can just keep things organized. Another thing Results does is every time you add a new plot, Results automatically repeats it for you. So if I go into my project navigation and click on the arrow besides oil rate and BHP, you can see that this plot has actually been created for every single well in my simulation model. So with the new results, as long as a property is repeatable, Results will automatically go ahead and repeat it for you. And you saw how fast the plot got created. It's almost instantaneous. So repeating the plot will cause no sort of slowdown in your plot creation time. And all it will really do is just enhance your functionality, enhance your productivity inside of the Results software. You don't have to go and click another button for the plots to be repeated. They're automatically repeated as soon as you add the plot in, pretty much. So now I've done my analysis for my oil rate and BHP, and I want to export this data to Excel to do further analysis. So to do that, I can just right-click anywhere on the screen and select Export to Excel. And you just have to give it a second for the application to open up, and here at the bottom it's open. So if I click on it, what you'll see now is when you export data to Excel, Excel actually recognizes the output in a table format. And the great thing about this is now I can actually filter to a specific date or filter to a specific well name, and I can do that all easily because Excel has actually created a table. Previously, there was just a big data dump that used to happen to Results, but this is no longer the case because the data is already in a table format. And then from here, if you wanted to transition into something like a pivot table, it's quite easy to do because this base table has already been created. So not only is analysis of results easier in the results software, but it's also easier if you want to do work in Excel as well. And I'll close down Excel. I no longer require it, so I'm just going to close it down. And I'll go back to my results page. And I'm going to collapse my oil rate and BHP plot first. So I've done my analysis. I've exported my data to Excel. But right now, all my information is grouped by the plot type. But what if I wanted to group my information based on the well name? Well, this is very easy to do as well. So all I have to do is click on the Home tab in the ribbon. And instead of having everything organized by plot type, I can choose to group my data by data. So when I click on this option, you'll see all the plots are now organized based on the specific well. So if I click on well 1, all the plots for well 1 are now visible on the same page. Similarly, if I click on well 2, all the plots for well 2 are now visible on the same page. So for example, let's say I was doing a history match and I actually wanted to compare a few things for just a specific well. I can easily do all of that in one place instead of having to move between different sections. And right now, all these plots are a little bit cluttered because I have so many curves added in. So if I wanted to reduce the number of curves on each plot, I can easily do that by just hovering over the legend and unclicking the curves that I no longer want to see. And as soon as I move away, the legend will collapse. And if I wanted to add them back in, I could just hover over the legend again and select the curve I want to see. So even something as small as adding or removing curves from the plots, even that functionality has been enhanced inside of the results software. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for all the plots. I'm going to remove all the water injection cases by just hovering over the legend and just removing those curves. And it looks much cleaner now. So right now, I can see a maximum of 4 different plots on the same page. But what if I wanted to see more? What if I wanted 9 different plots on the same page? Well, I could do that as well. So in the ribbon, there's an option called Layout. So if I click on the Layout option, I can choose to organize it into a 3x3 square. So when I click this, I can now see 9 different plots on the same page if that's what I wanted. And in fact, I can actually click on Layout and change it to a 4x4 square and be able to visualize 16 different plots all on the same page. And this is pretty rare. Typically, you're not going to have 16 plots per well. But if this was your case, then you could easily visualize everything on the same page if that's what you wanted. So you can easily customize the number of plots you could see on the same page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Layout and change it to a 1x3 organization. So everything is on top of each other. And let's say this is the way I want to do my analysis. But unfortunately, all these plots aren't perfectly lined up. So if you see, this plot actually ends slightly before this one, which ends slightly before this one. So the plots aren't exactly organized properly. They're kind of offset from each other. So if I wanted to put everything and if I wanted to align all my data, I can easily do that by clicking on this Align Axes option in the ribbon. So as soon as I click on the option, all my plots are aligned and everything is snapped into place. So now I can easily, for any given date, just start moving up and see what's happening in any single plot. Everything is perfectly lined up and it's just much easier for me now to do my analysis. So this is a very small feature addition to the new results. And it's very useful, right? Because if I wanted to do my analysis all in the same place, I can have all my plots aligned using this Align Axes option and then be able to easily just do my analysis by just moving up and seeing what's happening at any specific date. So with that, I'll actually move back to my old way of organization by moving to my Home tab in the ribbon and selecting by plot type. So now I can see all the plots on the same page again, or on the same in the well section. And what I have is this oil rate and BHP plot that I created. And let's say this is a very important plot to my analysis. Every single time I'm starting to do my analysis, I always look at my oil rate and BHP. So I can easily export this as a template. So to do that, all I have to do is right-click on the plot in the project navigation section and select Export as Template. So you can name it whatever you'd like. I'll name it Oil Rate and BHP. And as soon as I do that, the template will be created. One thing I should mention is you always want to ensure you save the plot in this default folder. This will ensure that every single time you open up a new file, this plot is automatically created. If you wanted, you can save this template file in a different location. Maybe you wanted to save it on your desktop or your D drive. You could save it there as well. But then you have to remember to manually import that file in once you've actually loaded in the file. So you have to manually select that template. So I'll choose to save it in this default folder and then click Save. So now I'll go back to my launcher. And in Launcher, I have this completely different file than the one I was working in. So it has nothing to do with the file that I created the template from. And what I'm actually going to do is take this SR3 file and drop it onto results. And now what you'll see is this template is automatically created. So it's automatically brought in as soon as I open up the file. And now if I actually expand the section, I can see the oil rate in BHP for every single well. And you don't have to spend any time creating this new plot. So once you save a plot as a template, you never have to create it again, because every time you load in the file, those plots will be there waiting for you. So if you wanted, you can save 10 different templates, and then every time you open up your results, you will have 10 plots for you to just transition into analysis into, instead of spending any time creating new plots. So you could just imagine the application for a history match case where typically you're analyzing the same plots. You can actually save all your important plots as templates, and then every time you run a new history match case, you can open up your results file, jump right into your analysis, do your analysis, and then move back into running your next case. You won't waste any time waiting for the file to open or adding a new plot, because everything is there waiting for you. So with this new results software, we wanted to really put an emphasis on the analysis of results, which is the goal of this software. We wanted to remove the time spent just creating plots and wasting time doing these little things that aren't really helping you achieve your analysis. We wanted to ensure users can open up the results and directly jump into their analysis instead of having to do anything else. And these new functions will definitely allow us to do that. So I'm actually going to close this off and move back into my old results case. So I've done my analysis, I've exported my template, and now I want to compare my steam injection case and my water injection case to see which one is the best case scenario. So I want to see the difference in oil rate between steam injection and my water injection case. So I can do that by defining a new formula. So formulas can actually be defined in the input section by clicking on the formulas tab. And what you'll see is our workflow for creating a formula has completely been changed as well. And if anyone has actually used CMOST, what you'll see is our new formula manager looks very similar to what we have in CMOST. So if I wanted to create a new formula, all I have to do is click on Insert, and then just type in my name of the formula. So I'll name it Delta Oil. And for the unit label, I'll name it meters cubed. Then I can add in multiple independent variables by clicking Insert. So I want 2 independent variables, so I'll click Insert twice. And for the name of my first independent variable, I'll name it X0. The origin type will be sectors because I want to see everything on a field-wide basis. The data source will be my steam injection case. And my property will be my oil production rate, SCTR. Then, for the second row, I'll name it X1. I'll change the origin type to sectors. I'll change the data source to the water inch case. And my property, again, will be my oil production rate, SCTR. So the new results actually gives you a green check mark to indicate if you have if your row is defined correctly. Right now, my delta oil property, the syntax hasn't been defined, so I have an X besides the delta oil property. And at the bottom in the validation section, it actually gives me my error message. So we worked really hard to improve the feedback given in the validation section, because previously the feedback might not have been as intuitive as we would have liked. Sometimes you would get generic messages that made it hard to actually troubleshoot your problem. So we've really improved the feedback that's given in this validation box. And you can see here it says the formula syntax is empty, and that's the reasoning for the error message. So if I wanted, I can actually define a new formula. So to do that, I can click on the formula editor and specify my formula. So I'm going to say x0 minus x1. So once I define that, I now have a green check mark besides my delta oil property, and in my validation box it says that my formula is now valid. So I can easily go ahead and plot this formula. So to do that, again, I have to go to the plot section in the project navigation and click on time series. And here, since the formula was defined for a sector, I have to select sector. I'll select my steam injection case. I'll do it for my entire field and select my delta oil formula that I just created. And then I'll click add to new plot. And then as soon as I do that, my plot's been created. And now I can compare to see what the difference is in the oil production between my steam injection and my water injection case. And it's quite clear that my steam injection case produces significantly more oil than my water injection case. And again, the title of the title of the plot is custom plot. So if I wanted to change it, again, I can go into project navigation and just click on the name and just change it to delta oil. And once I do that, it also updates the title. And this is just one way to help me keep things organized inside of the result software. One thing I want to mention is the repeat plot did not get created for this formula. And the reasoning for this is we only have one sector defined. So I only have a sector for my entire field. However, if I had multiple sectors, let's say I had 10 different sectors, this plot would have automatically been repeated for all the different sectors as well. So repeat plots aren't only for property versus time plots. Even if you're creating a new even if you're plotting a new formula, as long as the formula is repeatable, results will automatically repeat the formula for you. And again, it'll do it instantaneously. There will be no effect on your load time or anything like that. Everything with this results happens in the background. So everything will be plotted very, very quickly. So I've done my analysis, and it's quite clear that my steam injection case is better than my water injection case. So what I want to do now is see the temperature along the length of one of my steam injectors. And I can easily do that in the plot section by clicking on this property versus distance option. So here, I have the same simple left to right workflow I could follow when creating a property versus distance plot. So first, let's say I said I wanted to plot my temperature along the length of my well. So I can select the well path type. I can select the steam injection case. I can select injector 1. Let's say that was the one I was interested in. For the property, I can easily filter to the temperature property. And for my time step, I can click on the search option and just filter to the date I want to filter to. I no longer have to scroll down to find the date. I can just start typing it in, and it'll filter directly to that date, which is extremely useful. So I'll select 2012 and click Add to New Plot. And now I can see the temperature along the length of my well. And what you'll see is by default, results will actually put the distance on the y-axis. So if you wanted to switch that, you can click Swap Axes in the ribbon, and now the distance will be on your x-axis, and then you can see the temperature along the length as well. And by default, property versus distance plots will not be repeated. So if you would like to repeat it yourself, you can go into the ribbon and select the Repeat Over option. And here, I can choose whether I wanted to repeat it over specific time steps or over specific paths. So let's say I select Repeat Over Time Steps. I can see every single time step here, and there's quite a lot. So I'm actually going to repeat it over every single time step. And if you've used the previous results, you'll see that you'll remember that this does not happen extremely quickly. But as soon as I click OK, my repeat plots are created instantaneously in less than a second. So if I click on the arrow, I can now see the temperature along the length of injector 1 at any given date. And in less than a second, it actually created a plot for every single date. And again, this lets you see the actual power of this software, that it's able to do something, a functionality as big as this, that quickly. So this results software is extremely powerful, and I highly encourage you guys to test it to its limits, and you'll see that it's able to create all these plots extremely quickly in an attempt to enhance your productivity inside the software. So I'll actually go up and I'll collapse this repeat group section. And now I'm actually done my analysis in the plot section. So let's say now I want to do my analysis in the 3D viewer section. So I can easily do that by actually clicking on one of the two 3D views that are available. So if I click on 3D Viewer in Project Navigation, I can see my steam injection or my water injection case. And I proved earlier that my steam injection case is the best one, so I'm going to continue doing my analysis just for the steam injection case. So I'll just click on this 3D model for steam injection, and instantaneously I can see my results 3D file. So what you'll see is now that I'm in my 3D viewer, all the tools at the top in the ribbon have actually been updated. So now I can actually change my property, I can turn my grid on or off, I can turn my legend on. I can do all those functions quite easily in my ribbon. So I don't have to go to different sections to do them. All the tools have been updated automatically to my 3D tools. If I click on the Wells tab in the ribbon, I can do things like select different wells that I would like to visualize, or even I can select to turn my well names on. So any sort of work like that can be done in the well section in the ribbon. In terms of interacting with the model, we've actually improved the interaction ability. So if you right-click anywhere on your screen, you'll see all the different tools for interacting with your model. So if I click on the arrow tool, I can actually see the temperature at any location in my model. If I right-click and click on rotate mode, I can rotate my model. So if I right-click, I have access to all these different tools, so I don't have to scroll up or move up in my model, find them in the ribbon. They're easily accessible from my mouse. So this was one of the things that users wanted. They wanted the ability to be able to change, to interact with the model differently right with their mouse, instead of having to move up to the top and select the different options. So everything is easy to do just by right-clicking. And even if I wanted to change the property, I can do that by right-clicking as well. So I can just right-click anywhere and change the property that I'm visualizing to pressure. So I don't even have to go to the ribbon to make that change. I can easily do that by right-clicking. Now if I wanted to animate my model, I could just move to animation and hit play. And now I can see the change in pressure with time in my simulation model. So all of this occurs very quickly. So I'm just going to hit pause now. So that's my analysis in the 3D section. So let's say I've done my analysis in my plot section, I've done my 3D analysis all in the same software. And now I want to do my analysis for my plots and the 3D viewer all in the same place. Well, I can do that easily using the dashboards option. And the dashboards, it works on a simple drag and drop system. So what I'll do is I'll actually expand my oil rate BHP plot in my project navigation. And let's say I was interested in well 3 and well 10. I could drag well 3 and drop it onto dashboard. Then I could drag well 10 and drop it onto that same dashboard. And then let's say I also want to see my two 3D views all on the same page as well. So I could take my 3D models and drag them and drop them onto dashboard. Now, when I click on dashboard, all the plots and the 3D views are available on the same page. And you could just imagine how much easier it's going to be to do your analysis if you can see both your 2D and 3D things all on the same page. And if I actually wanted to rotate my model, if I wanted to change my properties, I could do that from dashboards as well. So here, when I click on the 3D model, I have access to all my 3D tools. If I click on my plot, I have access to all my plots. So everything will automatically update based on what I click. So if I wanted to edit a curve property, I can just click on the curve and then change the line color. So I can do all of this work inside of the dashboards. So if I don't want to work in the plots and 3D viewer section, I can solely work in the dashboard section as well. I have full functionality in this section. So now I have all my views, everything set up. And I should also mention you can open up as many plots and 3D views as you want. Just like before, by clicking on the dashboard section, I can actually increase the layout to visualize as many different things on the same page that I want. So I'll go back to dashboards and I'll change it back to the 2x2. And I can actually go to the animation tab and hit play. So when I hit play, you'll see that the pressure starts changing in both these models. And in addition to that, on my 2D plots, I actually get a curve to indicate at what time period I'm at. So for every change that's happening in my 3D model, I'll figure out what the corresponding effect is on my plot. So I can see everything all in the same place. And while the model is running, I can rotate my model. I can actually change my properties, and I can do all of that on the fly, and results can handle that very, very well. So I'll just pause the animation for a second. And let's say I don't want to actually go animate it all the way. I'm just interested in what's happening at one specific section of my results. So here on this curve, I see this huge spike in well bottom hole pressure at this specific date. So if I wanted to just jump to that date, I can just right-click and click Jump to Time Step. And then all the plots and the 3D views will jump to that specific date. And then if I hit play, I could carry forward with my analysis and see what's happening in my reservoir that's inducing that large of a change. So everything can be done easily inside the dashboards, any sort of navigation, any sort of analysis. It's very easy to do. So if you'd like to do further analysis of your simulation model or even take nice images for presentation, all of that work can easily be done in the dashboard section. All right, so that's pretty much everything I wanted to show in the demo. Hopefully, you can see the true power of this new software, and I'm sure it'll make the lives of all our users much easier. And one thing I do want to mention is that we're continuously working on adding more tools and functionality to this software, so you'll definitely be seeing new updates for results coming out over the next year. So be sure to check our website for that. And with that, I'll actually move into the presentation.
Thanks, Tirth. We're going to pause here for a quick second to get some audience participation. We're going to do a quick poll. We're really excited about the new results and all the new functionality, but we'd also like for your participation now, and we'd like to know which of the new results features are you most excited about. So please select one of the ones below. Our choices are automatic repeat plots, dashboards, fast loading, templates, or all of the above. Well, it looks like from the poll, all of the above is the winner, but dashboards is a pretty close second, so it looks like there's a lot of really new, exciting functionality available in results. And with that, we'll just return it back to Tirth.
Thanks, Jason. So I'll continue on with the presentation. So there are different output switches that are also available inside of when you're running your simulation model. So by default, both the SR2 and the SR3 files are created when the results files run. So the command line switch is -SR3_IMRF, and this will create both the SR2 and the SR3 files. So this is the default. You don't have to actually specify anything for this to happen. Automatically, both files will be created. If you only want the SR3 files, you can specify the -SR3 command line switch. And if you only want the SR2 file, you could specify just the -IMRF switch. So if I actually go back to my launcher, these switches can be specified when you're running your simulation model. So when you drag your file onto the software or the simulator, there's an option to show advanced options. So if I click on it, I can specify a new switch. So if I specify -SR3, only my SR3 files will be created. Alternatively, I can specify -IMRF, and only my SR2 files will be created. And if this is actually left blank, which is the default, both the SR2 and the SR3 results files will be created every time you run a simulation model. The restart procedure for SR3 is very similar to the old procedure that was in place for the SR2 files. So if you'd like to continue doing work with the old results, you could choose to restart from the IRF and MRF file. Alternatively, if you'd like to continue working with the new results, then you can choose to restart from the SR3 files. And both these options can easily be selected in Builder, in the I/O control section, or you can manually specify them in the text file. So just to recap some of the main features I talked about during my demo, there's now an optimized workflow for creating plots in 3D views. There's also automatic repeat plots and filtering everywhere to enhance the user experience inside of the results software. There's templates to automate plot creation, which will definitely make the lives of all our users much easier, just because you can spend much less time creating new plots or adding in new curves. There's a much improved formula system that now uses the Python language. There's user customizable dashboards for presentations, which is very useful if you'd like to compare the 2D and 3D view all on the same page. And lastly, there's an improved connection to Excel. So not only is analysis easier in results, but it's also easier in Excel as well. So with that, I'll pass back to Jason.
Thanks, Tirth, for the great demonstration on the new results. Normally, this is the point where we would take some questions. Unfortunately, we had a lot of information to go through, so we're a bit short on time. However, if you keep putting your questions into the comment section, we will get back to you very shortly on questions. One thing I did notice through the question section is that people were specifically asking for certain very specific functionality that they may not be able to find while using the new results. One thing to just note right now is that not all of the functionality that is in the old results version is currently available in the new results. However, over the next year, we plan to have several releases where we increase the functionality to support all of the lesser known and lesser used functionality that some of you have asked about today. So if you're just patient with us over the next year, you should see some of that stuff popping up. However, we do have the older version of results still available, so you have access to that functionality still today. So CMG offers a multitude of training classes for all skill levels. We also offer company-specific customized courses on a variety of other subjects all around the world. For more information on our training courses and offerings, please visit our website at www.cmgl.ca. Also, CMG will be at the SPEATCE next week in Dubai. So if you plan to attend, please stop by our booth where we'll be presenting the scheduled material you can see now on your screen. So a great opportunity to see some of the other uses of our technology if you're going to be there. So we'd love for you to stop by and say hi. If you have any questions related to the material presented today or would like to know more about our product offerings, please email us at sales@cmgl.ca. And for those of you who had questions that were not answered during the session today, we will be following up with you within the next few days. And again, look for an email within the next 24 hours with a link to today's presentation. Again, thank you all for joining us in today's webinar on the brand new Results 2016, and we look forward to connecting with you soon.